Without any further ado, Sandy Krum.
Chad, thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. You know, it's kind of fitting that we're standing, or I'm standing right here. You guys are seated right here because this used to be the baseball stadium. Many, many years ago, this used to be a baseball stadium. It was Peden Stadium. Wren Stadium. Peden's across the street, but Wren Stadium was right here. I guess we would probably be in center field right now. So quite ironic that I come back and this is the room that I've chosen to speak in. It's an honor to be here, really, a true honor. 27 years ago, I walked out of here not knowing what I was going to do with myself, what I was going to do with my career, what I was going to do with my life, but I did have a feeling of where I was going to go and what I was going to do. So there's a difference between thinking about what you're going to do and then actually going and doing it. Before I get started in my comments today, I want to especially thank Chad because Chad, without you, there wouldn't be a whole section in the Ohio University bookstore. I mean, a whole row of books. Do you have your own section there, sir?
There's a whole section of the library, but they never see it.
They never see it. Chad was a grad student when I was in the undergrad program, and that's where we first met. When I first met Chad in '82, there was only 6 students, from 6 males and 6 females accepted to the undergraduate program per year. And those 12 students were the 12 students that you actually traveled from year to year with and moved along in the progression, which was quite ironic. If you got a chance to get into the program, it was something special. The other thing is if you told somebody that you were going to be an athletic trainer back in 1982, they'd laugh at you. They wouldn't know what you were talking about. They didn't know anything about sports medicine. They had no clue as to what the profession was and what it had to offer. So that was intriguing to me as well. I came here because of another gentleman by the name of Larry Starr. Larry Starr was the head athletic trainer for the Cincinnati Reds, and he was an integral part in my career. 11 years old up there, knowing that I wanted to be in this profession of somehow, some way, because why? Every 3 days I got to look at a new athletic trainer that came into Wrigley Field because I was working for the visiting clubs. And I got to see them wrap pitchers' shoulders. And I got to see them do PNF programs on pitchers. And I got to see them get a pitcher ready for a game. And I got to see them treat the acute injuries. And 3 days later, a new team would come in, and then a new team, and then another team. And I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So with that, I started talking to Larry Starr, and I said, you know what? I want to go to school to become an athletic trainer. Where am I going to go? He says, no brainer, you're going to Ohio University. My message today is that this profession is doable. This profession is doable for each and every one of you in this room. You've chosen this profession, it's come a long way. There's people that have laid the foundation for you, but this profession is doable because here, look at me. 6 years as a bat boy, going to the major leagues, going to college, then going into the major leagues right away in my senior year. And I went to rookie ball. I spent 16 years in the minor leagues, 16 years riding buses up and down I-95, 16 years making reservations in hotels that went this way instead of this way, 16 years of doing laundry, 16 years of knowing every exit on every interstate, 16 years of knowing what restaurants were open after games were over. Things you never even think that an athletic trainer has to do. But that was the role of the athletic trainer, driving, picking up, doing laundry. And then you could do your PNF patterns, and then you could do your stretching programs, and then you could do your throwing programs and your rehab, and then go home and dictate your notes or write your soap notes. You really have to find a passion, people. Go find whatever passion it is inside of you and go get it. Because each one of you has a passion. Each one of you has a desire. Here I am, 20 years in the game, dealing with the most elite athletes, and now I'm going to go to a television show called The Biggest Loser. Doesn't seem right. I kind of laughed at him in the phone. He says, don't worry about it. catch the flight that they make for you, catch the flight, we'll interview you, we'll take you, show you everything, and we'll make the transition. Well, one thing he didn't teach me is how to deal with this. How do you deal with, this is 5XL. 5XL. Contestants on The Biggest Loser sometimes start at 7XL. And I'm going to take this person that's wearing this shirt, and I'm going to take him all the way to Z, from A to Z. Think about that. Do any of Chad Starkey's books teach you how to deal with this? And then no slap to you, sir. But
I do want my shirt back.
So, really, know where this is. You don't learn this stuff. You don't learn this in textbooks. So what did I do? I said to myself, I've got two choices. I've dealt with the most healthy individuals. I can either continue to treat these individuals as athletes, the contestants on the show, or I can look at them as fat slobs and just, go in there and, tape ankles and hope that nobody dies. And that's, the first thing that I thought is like, nobody can die under my watch. But in reality, my key to success on The Biggest Loser was the continuum of what I did in professional baseball to let me get through those 20 years. And that was to take every one of those people that came through me, the 300 contestants that came through me, and say, you know what? You are a person. You are an athlete. Let's go find that athlete that's in you. Each and every one of us has an athlete in us. It's how we go find it. The same person that wears this shirt here, the same as us. He or she will find the athlete. And that's what we did at The Biggest Loser. A couple notes about The Biggest Loser. Biggest Loser is great for exercise-centric weight loss. Great. Biggest Loser is great for teaching nutrition, how to count calories, how to read a label. But one thing The Biggest Loser does not do is deal very well with the psyche of the individual. And when I talk about psyche's a huge, huge component of what each and every one of you are doing in here today. Because if you can get good at understanding the psyche of an individual, an athlete, and figure out his or her makeup on that given day, then you're going to have some success. If you can look at me and see what I'm presenting to you today, or see what kind of athlete I am today, and then tomorrow look at me again and see the same person over and over, you're going to start to figure out the psyche of your athletes and your individuals that you're dealing with. You see them over there in the training room. I know that. This young lady that's sitting up here, she was dead. She was pretty much dead. This was my 4th or 5th season, I don't know. Day 1, rhabdomyolysis, 105 core temperature. I'm sitting in Santa Monica, I'm sitting in Malibu, and the closest hospital is air flight away. And I'll be damned, I called for a chopper. She came back. She is now one of the healthiest people around. People, be prepared. Be prepared. When you see something like this, do you know what to do? Do you know what to do? 105 core temperature, unconscious, after running a mile race to get onto the show, day 1. And this is what happened. So when I say you've got to be ready, this young lady had all the energy and all the passion in the world to be there and to lose weight and the determination. From an athletic training perspective, you need to be ready to deal with situations like that. This is Mike Morelli on the left, and obviously it's Mike Morelli on the right. That's what presented to me on the left when the show opened, and that's him at his finale. Shows go about 6 months. 6 months. So obviously he's made it quite a transformation, but his psyche didn't change right away. It changed as he got better and as he got more secure with what he was doing. Mike Morelli liked the field of athletic training so much that Mike Morelli left the show, went back to his home in Michigan, applied at Michigan State, and is now a certified athletic trainer. Helpless, looking for answers, nowhere to go, the end of the line, came with his father, athletic trainer, and really a class kid. But now I just have to show you that this kid had no idea of where he was going with his life, but found the field of athletic training and the profession of athletic training. So when I talk about passion and passion and passion, he found his passion. It's easy if you have it and you go find it and you apply it on a day-to-day basis. Use it, people. Never stop learning, people. Never, ever stop learning. You know, this publication, everybody seen this before? This publication comes once a quarter, once every month. How many of you sit and read these big spreadsheets that they put in here and memorize them and look at them and say, what does number 19 mean? It doesn't matter where you learn from, people. It means just continue to get the education. Continue to reach out and get what's being presented to you. Don't stop. Formulate your own toolbox. You all have training kits. You all have stuff in your training kits. You all have fanny packs. You all have whatever you have. But that's not the toolbox I'm talking about. Dr. Starkey teaches you. All your educators here at Ohio University teach you. Take it all in. Swallow it. Swallow it. Embrace it. Are you going to use it the rest of your lives? Maybe, maybe not. But if you formulate your own toolbox of what works and what doesn't work, you've got a better chance of success. Not everything that Chad taught me or Skip Vossler taught me or Larry Starr do I use. When I say, find what works in your toolbox, do we leave the skin on a blister or do we cut it off? Do we trim it away or do we let it sit there for a few days and then we trim it away? Do we put a donut on it or do we not put a donut on it? What do we do? What works for you, put it in your toolbox. If it doesn't work for you, get rid of it because there's too much more to encompass your toolbox. Number 3, really get to know your athletes. Really get to know your athletes and their makeups. And I've mentioned this earlier. If you can figure out your athletes and their makeups, you've got a good chance of succeeding. But not just knowing them, really knowing them. Meaning understanding who's presenting on any given day. I mean, I've had baseball players with 5, 6, 7 different personalities, and I didn't know who was presenting that given day. 4th tip for you to take out of here. Formulate a plan for everything. Formulate a plan for everything. Who's got an event this weekend? Who in this room's got an event this weekend? Do you all know the emergency plans of all the facilities you're going to or you're going to be at? Do you have an idea of what the emergency plan is at each one of those stadiums and or event sites? Better have a plan. When I came through this program, they always told us to keep a quarter in our pocket because you had to go to the payphone. There were no cell phones. Always carry a quarter. Now it's cell phones. I challenge you, have a plan for everything that you do. Number 5, you're going to become more than an ATC. You're going to do laundry. You're going to make hotel reservations. You're going to be a mother. You're going to be a father. You're going to be a parent. You're going to be a brother. You're going to be a sister. You're going to be the van driver. Take me time, folks. Take time for yourselves. Me time. Me. It's time to take care of me. Not the books, not the soap notes, not the taping of the ankles. Me. Take care of me. And find a way to do that. Because otherwise you're going to get burnt out. What do I like to do? I like to go run. I like to eat good food. You wouldn't tell, but I like to dine well. And I have hobbies. So the bottom line is find something that you like to do and take care of yourself. Me time. Contrary to Dr. Starkey's beliefs? The answer is not always on page 656. I mean, look at this textbook here. There's a lot of stuff in here. This is a pretty good textbook. I know this for a fact. And once again, Chad, it's not directed towards you, sir. The answer's not in this baby all the time. Sometimes you have to live it, and sometimes you have to experience it and taste it and feel it. You know, it's got to be tactile. You've got to really live it. Don't look at this book as the end-all, know-all. It's not it. This is your guide. This is what's going to take you along the path. But sometimes you have to actually put your hands on a player, and sometimes you have to actually look a player in the eye and have a conversation with him or her. The answer is not always on page 656. Be yourself and nothing more. Another tip. Be yourself and nothing more. If you're going to become a certified athletic trainer, that's what I want you to become, and that's what I want you to be. I don't want you to claim to be a certified athletic trainer if indeed you are not certified. Everybody get that? Do not claim to be a certified athletic trainer if you're not, and do not try to do things certified athletic trainers do if indeed you're not. Also means that you follow the code of ethics as written by the NATA. Take care of your board of certification credentialing. Follow your CEU guidelines. Do all the things that the NATA is asking you to do, and you'll be successful. The minute you step over the line and you play doctor or do something that you shouldn't do, then you're asking for trouble. Then you're asking for trouble. Respect the path of the profession. Respect the path of the profession. Look where athletic training's come, guys. It's come a long ways, hasn't it? Respect the path that you are on and where your predecessors have taken you. This is an important one to me, and I think you should all do this. Find a mentor. Just one mentor. If you can find one mentor, you got a good chance of having success. I was fortunate. I had several mentors, several people that I looked up to, and several people that I wanted to just embrace and really be a part of their lives and just learn from. Each one of you can find one mentor, whether it be in athletic training or whatever profession you land. If you find one, you're really going to be successful. Treat every person that you encounter equally. Make the field of athletic training known, the profession of athletic training. Make it known, people. Too much discussion between what's an ATC and what's a personal trainer and what's a trainer. You're a trainer? Well, come on, I need to do 10 sets of bicep curls. Well, that's not the trainer I'm talking about. Call yourselves athletic trainers, right? Is that what they're teaching you now? And how else are they telling you to identify the difference between the two professions? Because back then, and still to this day, 27 years later, I say I'm an athletic trainer, and they say, well, I need to go to the gym and work out with you. And that pisses the shit out of me. I'm done with that. I don't want that anymore. I want you people to take the message of what an athletic trainer is and apply it, right? Tell people and be proud of who you are as an athletic trainer. Couple more. Find a niche that this profession's opened up for you. What is your passion? Where do you fit in? And run with it. Find that position and run with it, right? Lastly, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. Love what you do. Love what you do. You know, if you love what you do, sitting in these rooms right here, going to work every day, 4 o'clock in the morning, travel all night, get up, fly, whatever it takes. If you love what you do, you're going to have no problem. So that's 27 years of my life right there. But there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of desire, and there's a lot of love for this profession right there. And that's what I wish for each one of you, is to go find that person inside of you that brought you into this room today, that brought you to Ohio University's athletic training program. Because each of you has this desire. You just don't know where you're going to end up. And if you end up higher than being an athletic trainer, then so be it. Put that in your package. But find the passion and really do well at what you tried to do. Right? Right? One thing that really kills me is California. California really kills me. 2 states left, California and Alaska, that aren't licensed. California and Alaska, what's it going to take for California to lead in the entire world when it comes to health and physical fitness, and yet we cannot have athletic training licensure there? What's it going to take? I'm working with Barbara Boxer and a couple other Congress people in California to try and help this legislation pass. It was put on hold. There's a couple good op-eds out there. Here's the key you got to remember. The question was, what safety implementations were in place, and what were the challenges for me? There's 300,000 people try out for The Biggest Loser each season. 300,000 people stand in different lines throughout America, whether it be NBC Tower in Chicago or Atlanta or whatever. And I know when we take 40 contestants or 40 would-be contestants out to California and we run them through physicals, we do an exhaustive study. I mean, but does that negate the possibilities of rhabdomyolysis? No. I'm scared like a pig in shit that first day. Seriously, I've got contestants flying all over treadmills, flying off of treadmills, hitting their heads, banging their heads, being yelled at, screamed at. It's 103 in the gym, and I've got 9 cameras filming it. Getting boogers and every other thing that they want to get. They get everything. So the one thing that I told myself is, hey, I've got a Hollywood physician who's a big Beverly Hills doctor who's signing off on these contestants' well-being. And I'm being protected by him. That's number one. So I felt confident in that. If he's taking the best of the 40 and he's telling me that these are the 16 of the healthiest unhealthy people, think about this, the healthiest of the unhealthiest people, like Mike Morelli, you know? So I went by that, and I had that in the back of my head all the time. But does that prepare you for knowing that she's got rhabdomyolysis, or knowing? Not until you experience it, right? Not until you actually experience it. You're not going to see that kind of stuff in the run-of-the-mill, but you're going to see it in high school athletics day one. You're going to see it in people that don't work out too often. So in answer to your question, I felt that I had the support of the physician, and obviously I felt comfortable in my abilities. I mean, you don't come from, you know, I wasn't coming out of the closet, you know, just the first day. I was in the profession for 20 some odd years. So you have to have confidence in your abilities, and I took it on I treated them like athletes, and that's how I respected them. And you know what? I think treating them like athletes was the key, because they felt a bond, or they felt accountable to themselves by becoming that athlete. You know, becoming that athlete that was inside of them. And every day I would treat them just like they were in the locker room. If I had that locker room mentality, carry it with you if you're in the sports, in that environment. So regardless of where you go, whether you go to a collegiate setting or a high school setting or to a clinical setting, develop ways and mores. Go ahead. Anybody else, please? Yes, ma'am.
Was it ever hard in the professional setting, like feeling underappreciated by like such elite athletes?
No. The question was did you ever feel underappreciated by such elite athletes? No, because once they knew that you had their best interest at heart, that was the key. When they knew that you really cared about them and were genuine about everything that you were doing there, you were one of them. You were one of them. Yes, ma'am, in the corner.
I have 2 questions. One, is Jillian Michael Jillian mean as she looks on TV?
Should we call her?
Really? You can just call Jillian Michaels whenever you want.
Sure.
That's really cool.
You should put her on
The question was, is Jillian Michaels as much of a bitch as she is? Yeah, you know what? There's a TV side of Jillian Michaels, and then there's the crummy side, you know. She's a really cool person. She's got a great dynamic. I mean, just, when I first met her, I was like, who is this? And then she's a special person. She really cares about each one of the contestants that comes through the program. Not only does she, even though she doesn't have a say because they're not on her team, so to speak, in the show's ways, but stunning person. Bob Harper, stunning person. Dovette Quince, sharp. These are the sharpest. They're not going to hire anybody that's not sharp, but she comes across that way. You know why she comes across that way? Because that's the only way that some of these people are going to figure out how to get from A to Z. Is to get deep down, and each one of you should realize that, to dig deep down and get that all those inner emotions out of you that you need to get out of you to rebuild. Because the only way a Biggest Loser contestant is going to rebuild is if we knock that foundation of all the bullshit walls that have been standing for years and years and years. And it's time to take those walls away. And when we knock them down and we get to the foundation and we lay new concrete, then and only then can we get healthy again. That's why Jillian Michaels is the way she is, because she's digging deep inside of each person that comes through the show to get rid of all the BS that they've been holding in and all the walls that they've been establishing, not letting themselves be seen. So coming out of hiding, she can get it out of you. She'll get it out of you. And if you ever want to do that with your athletes, put them on treadmill at 3.5 with a 9 incline and tell them to walk. 3.5 with a 7 incline and just say walk. I guarantee you after about 10 minutes they're going to be huffing and puffing and they're going to start praying that you let them off that treadmill. Next, anybody else, please?
I want to hear your questions too. There you go. Right over there.
What are some of the common injuries, or did you see any consistencies with getting athletes on Biggest Loser?
Biggest problems with Biggest Loser contestants, I would say, are gait. If you analyze gait, we did a huge gait study on each contestant. You have to look at the pelvis. If you don't look at the pelvis and address the hip and the glute and how the glute's positioned, and I don't care if they're valgus or varus, I don't care, majority of them are valgus because the hip collapses. And if the hip collapses, what happens? The whole chain is messed up, correct? And then we're going to put them on a treadmill and ask them to run at 5.0? No chance. So if we concentrate on the core, the hip, and their gait, those are my two passions and my two biggest things. That'll solve a lot of the issues. Other than that, biggest problems is keeping them motivated. Keeping them motivated because they've done this before. They've lost hundreds of pounds before. But if you can keep them motivated and keep them educated on changing their lifestyle and carrying this with them for the rest of their lives. One of the things you have to remember is these people are addicts. Every obese person in this world is an addict. And until they realize they're an addict and treat themselves like an addict, they're going to still be that addict and obese person. Every contestant, and I'll tell them right to their face, you're an addict. And until you change those habits of trying to feed that pleasure center up here, you know, 1 cheeseburger is not enough. Let me have 2, but let me have that third one just in case I may not have one tomorrow. Or the person that runs from McDonald's to Burger King, and in between McDonald's and Burger King, he or she eats the food. And at Burger King, they go to Kentucky Fried Chicken because on Sunday they saw the $5 buck box or $5 box. And then they go home and they have dinner with their wife or husband. Or the contestant whose psyche was, hey, you know what? I'm not going to order Domino's Pizza. I'm going to have a standing order with Domino's Pizza at 8 o'clock every night. You show up 7 nights a week. Do not come until I call you, unless I call you. In other words, I want the pizza at my door at 8 o'clock every night. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.